We talk a lot about STEM kits and hands-on materials, but let's be real for a second. The absolute magic ingredient in any classroom? It's the educators, hands down. They're the ones who take a simple pile of supplies and transform it into deep, rigorous problem solving. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a really remarkable professional development experience. It's called Engineering by Nature Signal Lab. And we're going to look at exactly how this training empowers teachers to facilitate high-level thinking using the natural world as the ultimate engineering inspiration.
And this brings us to a foundational philosophy, something that really anchors this whole program. Think about it. Great STEM learning doesn't happen just because you hand a student a box of materials. It happens when teachers know exactly how to turn that hands-on activity into deeper thinking. It's a powerful reminder, right? Because you could have the absolute most expensive gadgets in the world, but if the instructional design isn't there, well, then you just have a craft project. What I love about this professional development is how much it genuinely respects the incredible skill teachers already bring to the table. It's totally centered on elevating that expertise.
So how does it actually work? Well, the practitioner's journey here is super experiential. It guides educators through a clean three-step process. First up, you experience the learning. Teachers actually roll up their sleeves and dive into the Signal Lab challenge themselves, playing with flashlights, mirrors, natural model carts, the whole shebang. Then, second, they step back. They unpack how to facilitate that thinking and practice specific instructional moves. Finally, step 3, plan for implementation. Because we know you have to figure out how this actually fits into the real, wonderful, kind of chaotic messiness of your actual classroom.
Okay, so what's the actual content they're learning to facilitate? During the training, teachers figure out how to guide students through the core mechanics of a communication system. You know, how a sender transmits a signal to a receiver to convey meaning. In this flagship Signal Lab module, kids investigate biomimicry. They study how natural systems inspire human design. So, they look at how bats use sound and reflection, or maybe how fireflies use specific light patterns to communicate. And then, using just simple materials, the students engineer their very own systems based on those incredible natural models.
But here's the catch, and really the true art of teaching. How do you facilitate this without just giving the kids the answers? In the PD, teachers practice asking these highly targeted, guiding questions. For instance, what information needs to be communicated? Rather than stepping in and saying, hey, put that mirror over there, educators are trained to ask questions that force the students to clarify their own design goals. Like, is the system sending a warning, giving a direction? Identifying that core piece of information is literally the first step of actual engineering.
Another fantastic facilitation question they practice is, what natural system inspired your idea? I love this one because it prompts students to explicitly connect their low-tech models right back to that complex biomimicry. All of a sudden, a student might realize, oh, my flashing light code is mimicking fireflies, or that their paper tube pathway reflects how plant stems respond to light. It's a brilliant way to ensure the classroom activity stays deeply, fundamentally rooted in scientific observation.
And look, anyone who spent 5 minutes in a classroom knows that when it comes to engineering, things rarely work perfectly on the first try, right? So, teachers learn to ask, what did your test reveal? When a student's light signal gets blocked or maybe their sound code gets all garbled, this question is a lifesaver. It beautifully shifts the focus away from, oh no, I failed, to, okay, what evidence do we have? Teachers are guiding students to connect their results back to physics, talking about light reflection or sound waves, so that their next iteration is driven by actual data.
Now let's pivot and talk logistics for a second, because we all know implementation can be a massive hurdle. To really reduce the burden on teachers, the physical materials are highly structured. First, you've got your core classroom kits with the reusable stuff, flashlights, mirrors, things like that. Then you have pre-assembled team bags. These contain the consumable items like foil, string, filters, so every team is ready to go without the teacher having to spend hours counting out paper clips. Finally, dedicated testing stations are set up around the room, which lets multiple groups test their designs efficiently. It is built strictly for the realities of real-world classrooms. That level of organization, it fosters a massive shift in classroom culture. We're moving far away from that cluttered craft project vibe where students are just kind of taping things together aimlessly. Instead, this is a structured STEM investigation. Sure, the materials might be simple, we're talking index cards and paper tubes here, but the design thinking is absolute premium quality. And because of this flexible structure, teachers can easily adapt the module. Whether you want to do a one-day introductory sprint or a week-long deep dive across different grade levels, you're covered. Crucially, a huge part of this professional development is equipping teachers to support students who have varying levels of STEM confidence. We want everyone engaged, so students are given multiple avenues to show their thinking. They aren't just graded on some final written report. They can sketch out their ideas, build prototypes, label diagrams, run physical tests, verbally explain their logic, revise and reflect. This multimodal approach ensures that absolutely every single student finds a pathway to success.
And to ensure language barriers never ever prevent a student from engaging in high-level engineering, the Signal Lab PD provides highly specific tools for multilingual learners. Teachers learn how to utilize a visual vocabulary bank, matching up terms like reflect or detect with really clear icons. They practice using sentence frames, like, "Our design is inspired by blank because it blank." That alone is huge for helping students articulate complex physics concepts. They also structure peer talk before doing any whole class sharing, which builds confidence every step of the way.
Now, the professional development also tackles a very modern classroom challenge, artificial intelligence. It introduces an optional AI problem-solving coach. But it poses a critical, necessary question right up front. How can AI support rather than replace student-owned thinking? I mean, we've all seen the concerns about AI just doing the work for the student, right? Well, this PD actually teaches educators how to integrate this technology respectfully and purposefully. It ensures the AI acts as a tool for inquiry and definitely not a shortcut for answers.
The whole methodology here relies on AI-supported questioning leading directly to student-owned thinking. So teachers learn how to use this AI coach to ask students those guiding questions we talked about earlier, prompting them to clarify their physics connections or maybe identify an untested assumption. If a student gets stuck, the AI might ask, "What could make your signal clearer?" The students use a tablet just briefly to get unstuck, and then bam, they immediately return to their physical materials and their peers. The student remains entirely in charge of their own decisions. It's a real game changer. Experience the learning, facilitate the thinking, plan for implementation. This professional development is warm, it's confident, and honestly, it is incredibly respectful of a teacher's time. It prepares educators to run hands-on, problem-solving centered STEM classrooms with highly organized practical materials. If you're an educational leader or a STEM outreach partner, I highly encourage you to look at bringing this targeted learning experience to your campus. I'll leave you with this final thought. When your students are building with hands-on materials, are they simply following instructions to finish a craft? Or are they truly being guided to engineer the future? The difference, as always, is the teacher.